Guys, welcome to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney. I have no idea why I put my hands up every time. We got Josh Schultz. Man, they manage 10 businesses in 10 different states. They do $30 million a year. This guy is a human ops. I think he's a cyborg. We don't even know. But he's a great guy, becoming a quick friend. He always teaches me something new. When we jump in, we talk about life, cash flow, all sorts of different things. So jump on in the episode and enjoy this 3-part series. We'll see you in there.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life, the 3-part series. Guys, so my fiance has told me that I'm more angry when my hair's like this. So I'm looking for inspirations for new hairdos, and I think we found it. Like he's in my phone as the hair, guys. I mean, this, it's not even hair at this point. It's a mane of just perfection. That's what it is.
It's it's I don't know what it is. I have super straight hair. It comes down into my face, down to my nose. And so my whole life I have like hard rock sprayed it to just stay out of my face with this giant boat wave, which is what my friends called it growing up in school, like the boat wave.
I like that.
Then as I got older, I realized it wasn't cool to have hair that you could like tap and the whole thing shifted. So I started moving towards trying to find gels that were strong enough, and I made my own for a while. But yeah, my hair is either totally a disaster or it's all just pasted down. There's no in between.
I love it. So we're going to cover 3 different things. Josh is kind of the ops king. There's going to be some nuance in these conversations when it comes to business. But, one of the things that I talk to myself when I post, and I try to remind myself things all the time. And I say, don't just share the numbers, share the nuance. And I think it's not talked about enough. I think we become a productive society where we want to push all nuance out, but there's a lot of stuff that per se doesn't. I don't know. I think you posted about this the other day. It doesn't kind of fit on paper, but it's stuff that's not talked about. And one of those things is like cadence and rhythm of the business, right? So, kind of what's your viewpoint on that kind of conversation?
For me, operational cadence and rhythm is the business.
Okay.
From like that 0 to 500,000, you're figuring stuff out. So you're not in a business yet. You're a guy or a gal who's just trying to figure it out. What does my customer want? What can I deliver? But once you get to a point where you figure that out and you're like, oh, now I want to get multiple customers, multiple groups, multiple geos, whatever it is that helps you get to that 1 to 5 million, you start to realize that everything is a trigger. And so I get an email, I answer it. That's the trigger. And there's about half the things that you do that don't have a trigger. I got to close out the month. Nothing happens that triggers that action except a time, the end of the month. And I've got to clear out my purchase orders because it bogs down my data and I lose track of what's actually open or what's been received. I got to clear this out. I need somebody to check the mail. I need to make sure that I pay taxes. I need to make sure I pay my property tax. And like as you grow, more and more things are just based on time. Not only that, you've got as you get more people involved, you have to check in on them. You have to do one-on-ones with them. You have to do sales reviews of your pipeline to make sure that you're still filling it in. And what happens is over years is you have problems. Oh, we have no pipe. Oh, we have nobody filling new leads. We don't have any metal in stock. We don't have any open orders. We should have been checking that. We should have been doing inventory to see what our metal inventory was. And you have more and more of these things that become your operational cadence to make sure that we're continually operating, having throughput and selling. We're checking our data. We're checking our inventory. We're checking our customers. We're checking our pipeline. And those all become consolidated into a weekly sales meeting, a weekly operational meeting, a monthly pipe review, a monthly financial review, an annual strategic review. And I mean, that drives the entire business. That becomes kind of the heartbeat of the organization. So yeah, I think it very quickly becomes the business itself.
I'm looking at it from my point of view in my last 15 months. I think the hardest thing for me, and now I'm more pulled back from it, but I, as an owner, only in good or bad or indifferent, I'm not in control of everything. I'm there's multiple things that I'm seeing, right, as CEO and owner. And so what I found myself doing in a business of this scale is I found myself giving an opinion on a situation, not having all the information.
Mm-hmm.
Right, getting upset with something but not really hearing the story, right? And all that's really doing is putting a wrench in the situation of the sales guy who's, at the end of the day, he's trying to do a good job. And I had to check my own need to weigh in on the situation until I got the full story, so I didn't mess up the cadence of these conversations they've had with the client, so on and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important. I would say our number one meeting out of the whole company is the weekly ops meeting. The number two is the daily huddle that they do inside. And a big part of that is we call it communication up and down. So plant managers are pushing problems up and solutions down. Guys on the floor are pushing problems up to the PMs and they're pushing solutions down. And so a lot of that is like, hey, let us know what you're struggling with. And let's work it out at a higher level where we've got a lot of input. And so that weekly ops call has somebody that represents sales, somebody that represents finance, it has somebody that represents safety and technology. It's got me. It's got all of us on that call. And so, and that's got each of the PMs. And so, yeah, they'll bubble up problems and we'll talk over it from a high level to make sure that we're checking all the boxes, whether it's finance, it's affordable, it's in compliance, it's doable. It's on our strategy line. Like we all can weigh in. And then that way we're not just like, again, hearing about something happening at the plant and I'm not just blowing up. I've been there too. I've done it. You yell and then you find out you don't have the whole story. And so it's really cool to have, how do you fix that? You get somebody that represents the key aspects of the business to meet once a week and talk about what's like, in the way that we do that particular meeting is it's all about, we figured out like 9 things. And if those 9 things go right every week, the company by default has to be doing well. And if we do well every week, then we're going to have a great month and a great year. And so the whole core of that is reviewing those 9 areas. But through that, there's always stuff that comes up. Why is this red? And yes, while we take away tasks, we also just discuss lots of nuance, as you put it, in that thing. Like, why are we making bad parts? You think it's like, is the guy pouring too fast? Get him to follow the process. Well, the process for this hasn't been done. This is a new part. We technically got this part from a different foundry. They used a different software and couldn't port it over. And it's like, oh yeah, we don't have ways of handling all that stuff. And all that comes up and you get better as a company each week.
Guys, let me take a minute to tell you about my buddies over at Lead Hub, Ben and Aaron, the best humans I know. Not only are they amazing at marketing for trade companies, but Ben started his HVAC company in his garage, sold it for multi-million dollars. So when this guy talks, I listen. When we took over Dietz Mechanical, we had 22 reviews in 22 years. In 7 short months, we went from 22 reviews to 107. We went from a 4.2 to a 4.7. We tripled our Facebook presence and we tripled our calls. If you're an HVAC, plumbing, electric, landscaping company, and you're looking for a no BS approach to marketing, you're looking for people who have done it before, you got to go to leadhub.net. Do you feel on a more macro level, do you feel like there's seasons of looking inside and there's seasons where you got to throw the throttle down? Do you look at that, or do your business run kind of the same season across the board? Like, we're opening a second location right now. That's a different energy. It's more greenfield, but the business over here has to do good. Like and maybe I'm more of an energy guy than most, but I feel like there's different seasons where you're kind of protecting the house and you're going on offense, or do you kind of go on offense 24/7?
No, there's definitely seasons. Our seasons are driven by 2 main aspects. The first aspect is it recession or expansion? And that's not necessarily always aligned with the macro economy the news is talking about. That's just internally. Are sales generally flowing up and people are ordering more across the board, or is it pulling back? And that happens for us. All the plants are growing or they're all declining. Right now, I'd say it's recessionary. Like our orders are down compared to a year and a half ago. So that's going to drive what we're doing. When we are in recessionary playbook, we are streamlining, leaning out, maximizing profitability. that is our game. When we're in expansion, we are assuming that our leaned out is giving us a good enough profit, and now we're investing. So we're not trying to maximize and squeeze every dollar out. We figure that we're pretty good from the last recession, and so we say you build your company in the recession and you collect the money on the upside. We want to make all of our changes during the recession, leaning, process changes, new management, personnel, because we don't want to be messing with stuff while orders are doubling, which has happened before. All the stuff's going well. We just want to collect that profit. So that's the first season change. The second season change is driven by what we call like our number one thing. We only ever have number one thing at a time, which sounds obvious, but many companies are like, these are the 4 things we want to do this year. No, we have one at a time. And when that one gets done, we go to the next one. So if you look at our weekly meeting, that's the best view of what season we're in. We'll hit our number one thing, and then we have our standard core. So our core is those 9 items. We always talk about those because those are key to us just surviving. And then there's the number one thing that we hit right before that. So right now for us, we're investing in a very large piece of equipment in South Carolina. So that is driving energy in that area. After it might be automating something with software. It might be building our sales channel. Like it could be a number of things, but changes every 6 to 18 months. But that could be a defensive season. That could be an aggressive season. It could be an investment season. It could be a tooling up and skilling up season. We've kind of gone through all those. We did an ERP season before that, where for 9 months, we did a new ERP and new processes. And so between recession and expansion, what our number one thing is, those are the 2 things that are kind of defining what mode we're in as a company. Because again, we're all talking about that every week. We're all on the same page. We're all trying to fix problems with it. And then we always have our core. And our core is not growth or pullback. It's just, our sales good, our finance good, and his ops good.
And I maybe don't use the same words, but vacuum is what I call it. Like because we have commercial projects. So when that vacuum and those 6 people are off that job, if we don't have something for them on the backside of that, we have to be 6, 8, 10 months ahead, right? And we're using the commercial business that we have for the next 15 months as cover, because we have guaranteed cash flow coming in to expand. So when that vacuum of those big jobs leave, we have a place, the new location, more business in a new market. And instead of waiting 12 months for it to be closer to it, you might take some, but it's going to take, 6 months to build up the marketing, right? I don't think people think, they don't think in years and months, and they're more like people are stuck in that day-to-day, week-to-week kind of viewpoint.
100%. Yeah, that's that monthly pipe review that I alluded to earlier. It's what we do is, where are we in the pipe? We have, we didn't create this, but you have estimated close rates, and you have how much dollar volume is at each stage. And you say, hey, our pipe, we want to keep it 20 million and above. That means every year we should be at least closing 20 million. If our rates and our close conversions are correct. And we just make sure that we keep that pipe. So that's that pipe review. What in here is really closed? What's really open? Let's get rid of it. Let's see what our real value is. And then based on that, we know how hard to press the gas. And that's why sales is running independent of ops. Sales doesn't really know about ops, or shouldn't be paying attention and say, oh, they got revenue coming in. Like we can take it easy. Their whole goal is just that pipe value. Like there are 3 things: are our stuff priced right? Are we getting new leads in the top? And are we closing stuff out of the bottom? And so we're assuming attrition's happening, but yeah, it's that same week.
So
if you're closing
100%, you're not happy, right?
If we're closing 100%,
if you're closing 100%,
enough top. We're not putting enough in the top. Yeah.
Yeah, and see, that's where people have it. Like I don't want to be closing 80 to 90% of my HVAC sales. Yeah. That means we're not priced right.
Yep, I want to do for me. I want to do 30 to 50 is what I want to close, somewhere in there for castings.
All right.
We're dealing with a little bit of a commodity item. It's got one material in it, aluminum. Everybody knows the price of that. Labor's pretty standard across the board, and so we're basically competing on overhead. How efficient can we get that part out?
I love that. All right, guys, that's your cadence and rhythm kind of talk. I love that. That's getting into the weeds. So we'll see you in part 2. Share it around.